Dark Side of the Moon has sold over 45 million copies. The Wall has sold over 30 million copies. Wish You Were Here has sold over 15 million copies. Animals is reported to have sold roughly 8 million copies. So how, when its performance was only half of Wish You Were Here, a quarter of The Wall, and 17.78%, if we're being specific, of Dark Side of the Moon, how is Animals possibly Pink Floyd's best album of all time? Irrespective of album sales, Animals is a fantastic album, which displays a harder, brasher sound compared to previous Floyd albums, and is possibly one of their best. I'm Toby from TIJ Music, and today I'm going to be reviewing Pink Floyd's 1977 effort, Animals. Before we begin to review the Animals album song by song, let's look at the background of the album. By 1977, the relationship between the members of Pink Floyd became particularly nasty. Roger Waters received more royalties than Gilmour on side 1 of this album, despite Gilmour's tremendous contribution to the 17-minute masterpiece Dogs, when Waters was more responsible for the 2-minute Pigs on the Wing Part 1, which doesn't quite tally up in my book. Rick Wright didn't receive any writing credits for the album, and similarly the drummer Nick Mason didn't do much work for the album either. Without going into much detail, it is fair to say that by 1977, when this album came out, that Roger Waters felt that he was the sole songwriter for the band, the leader of the band, and that what he said went. On the subsequent tour, Waters would often arrive to and leave concerts alone. Wright threatened to leave Floyd, and Gilmour felt the tour was a low point for the band, who had really nothing left to achieve. But, despite their differences, Animals somehow managed to become a politically cynical, society-shaming masterpiece. The album cover features an ageing Battersea power station with a superimposed pig flying over it, haven't seen that one before, attempting to mock capitalism and the politics of the UK in the 1970s. The album criticised the Dogs, who are highly competitive and run businesses, the Pigs, who are at the top of the social ladder, and the Sheep, who would just follow. Harsh, to say the least. Pink Floyd's music is often cryptic and leaves much to be interpreted. However, at the start of the Animals album, there seems to be a love song. You did hear me right. Pink Floyd and a love song doesn't really match up too well. Roger Waters stated in 2017 that Pigs on the Wing Part 1 and 2 tries to convey a message that, and I'm quoting here, if we don't care for one another and have empathy for one another, then all we're left with is really crap. Pigs on the Wing opens and ends the Animals album and is more light-hearted than the other 3 songs, but as a general rule there is little to discuss about this one. I'd have been quite happy with just Dogs, Sheep and Pigs. Dogs is the first meaty song on Animals, at a length of over 17 minutes. Even for Pink Floyd standards, that is pretty impressive. The song takes up the large majority of side 1, and as mentioned earlier, I can imagine Gilmour to be fairly annoyed that he didn't receive much of the royalties despite his contribution to the song. Gilmour and Waters both have vocal leads on this one, and Gilmour's guitar work is nothing other than fantastic. The song focuses on the big businessmen who are tirelessly competitive, who work to get what they want. It generalises businessmen to be selfish, egotistical, and purely self-serving. The lyrics are quite poignant though in the second verse, with a requirement to be trusted by the people that you lie to, and when they turn their backs, you can put the knife in. The song discusses the idea of karma, in that the efforts of these cutthroat individuals will lead to nothing, and that they'll be dragged down by the dirty deeds in which they've committed in their career. While the lyrics are particularly poignant, the work of Gilmour both in his vocals and his guitar are tremendous on this track. I do really like Dave Gilmour, and his solo on Comfortably Numb on the Wall is possibly the best of all time, and the solo on Dogs is fairly close to it. The work of Richard Wright and Nick Mason on drums and keyboard, however, can't be forgotten in this song. All the 4 members of Pink Floyd blend together beautifully to make long periods without vocals flow particularly well, and with the sound effects of Dogs in the background and the aggressive guitar sound, the instrumental work on this record really does the song justice. 10 out of 10 for this one. It is a real masterpiece. Is it my favourite Pink Floyd song though? No. Well, how can it be 10 out of 10 and not be my favourite Pink Floyd song? You decide. Haha, charade, you are. Side 2 has Gilmour on bass compared to his usual lead role, playing prior to the first verse of Pigs, hence why I went on about charades there. Pigs was attributed solely to Roger Waters, with Dogs the only song that Gilmour was given songwriting credits for on the album. The song in each of its verses describes a different individual that is deemed a pig. The pigs aren't police, as is technically a derogatory term in the UK, but they are political individuals, one identified as Mary Whitehouse, who was a Conservative campaigner at the time, and there are also two other individuals that are linked to the other two verses that aren't identified, although Roger Waters has managed to identify another pig in his later work, with the face of Donald Trump of all people clearly shown on his 2017 tour when playing Pigs. Let's just say that got a mixed reception from audiences. Pigs is my least favourite of the three songs, but that's not to say that it's a poor record. The song doesn't flow as well as Dogs, with the work of Gilmour mostly to attribute to the success of Dogs in my book. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. If you want my reasoning for why this Pink Floyd album is the most brash that they've recorded, look no further than Sheep. This is a brilliant effort by Waters, and the guitar work on this is absolutely sublime. The first 2 minutes of the song sees an excellent keyboard solo from Richard Wright, probably his most significant contribution to the album, with the harsh vocals of Waters coming in after this. The song describes the sheep who follow the dogs and pigs, but also has an interesting narrative in my opinion, because it kind of says that, well, the sheep would be much worse off without the dogs and pigs. The electronic effects with Waters' vocals are also great, and with the reference to dogs in the guitar solo, it has quite a nice fit. The second half of the song shows the battle in which the sheep have in rising up against the dogs and the pigs in society, and the end of the song explains how these sheep need to get out of the road, or the rat pack, to ensure that they do grow old and technically survive, and it shows this capitalist attitude is definitely all about survival. Without thinking about the deeper meaning though, Sheep is a great hard-hitting song which incorporates hard rock and electronic effects and some cracking vocals from Roger Waters. It doesn't quite eclipse Dogs, but it's a great way to end the trio which comprises Dogs, Pigs and Sheep. 9 out of 10. Animals was Pink Floyd's most hard-hitting album up to 1977, and this remained that way throughout their career. It differs from all the other successful albums in its hard-hitting nature, but remains cynical, much like Dark Side of the Moon. Animals is bold and a shift in tone compared to previous works, but fits quite nicely into Floyd's collection as a unique album. It isn't quite as good as Dark Side of the Moon, but then, what is? But I'd put this album second on the Pink Floyd all-time list, just above Wish You Were Here and The Wall. Animals is a fantastic album that is worth listening to time and time again, and receives a 9 out of 10 rating from me as a virtue of the ratings given in the review itself. If you enjoyed that review folks, make sure to subscribe to the channel for future album reviews and top 10s. If you wish to make a suggestion for other albums that I should review, feel free to leave them down in the comments. But until next time folks, I've been Toby from TIJ Music, and that has been a review of Animals by Pink Floyd.